you know, send them to a nut house, whatever you want to use terminology. People are afraid they don't get labeled with that. They come in and talk about some of their exciting and major events that they've been a part of. Now is an excellent time that you can come forward and work with. You can contact any one of us through the internet and then go from there. That's I've discovered quite a few people that have come forward off of my Facebook page as well as these conversations. We're not hard to find if you go in the internet. Those of us have been willing to stick our necks out because we know the advantage of putting out the truth, and the information there is our protection. And the same thing would go with any other. So if anyone listening, if you've got something to add to this, or even if you've run into us in some of your other timelines, please get back with us because it may be some parts that we're trying our best to recover and pick it up. So that's my biggest point I want to put out this evening is don't think that you can hide it because those that were in charge know who you are and know where you are. So your safest thing is don't take it to your grave, bring it out, get it public, and that way we can advance as a species in this particular timeline in the universe. So I'm happy and proud that I'm working with people like you too, and the others that are involved in getting the truth out. And full disclosure is my. It's interesting, Janet. I started using the term full disclosure several years ago. Now all of a sudden, other people have picked it up, and they're using the same terminology. The same thing we have coming up with my September 22nd. David Wilcock is using that term, that date and time, and Corey Good, and a few of the others, and they're on. I don't know whether they. Yeah, no, well, there you go. That'll work.
What do they think's going to happen? What are they referring to that date? Because do they think everybody's just going to wake up like the 20? What was it? 2012? 12/26.
Yes, we're going to all wake up. Yes, we're all going to wake up. We're going to fight against it. We're going to stop all this stupid war shit. Letting people starve and yeah, we're going to go into the utopian timeline that I identified in 58. See, I
that's almost like
the positive timeline.
Like the day the world stood still. I mean, I don't think that you're going to see that type of a full disclosure event because I mean Hollywood already tried that with what I just said the name of that movie was, and they that pointed out that you can't trust going straight to the governments, which we know good and well they've been doing all the way back to Eisenhower's visit and talked with the Anunnaki as well as some of the others that were there, and then the reptilians. So we've got proof there that it doesn't necessarily that the ETs have learned you can't get disclosure and get the people to be able to move forward in this timeline so long as we leave those that are in full control of our lives in the universe. That so long as they're trying to maintain their power, this power can corrupt absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's the terminology.
Absolutely. So what is behind that? Let's look at that. That's a good thing to look at.
It's billions of years old. It's billions of years old.
That
this
need
universe
to control everything.
It's artificial intelligence from billions of years old. It's the Russian doll effect. It's a program inside a program inside a program, or a universe inside a universe inside a universe. But you got to look at the different timelines we've talked about, plus the meaning in etymology and taxonomy, and even comparative linguistics, comparative religions, comparative philosophies, and how we structure what we learn as individuals, because we're not. We're all particles and waves with the law of probability coming up, just like a computer or a psychic. We all have the ability to affect each other as either a particle or a wave when we're both. But when they come together, like in the split theory, in the quantum entanglement, there's the law of probability of the universe takes over. So there's various levels of all of us, but we teach the various levels, and just like we use mathematics, chemistry, biology, and all of that, we separate. But in the beginning, there was something, and we call the something nothing, or the nothing came from something. But something and nothing becomes zeros because we can't get past an eternal device, the spirit of law of consciousness, because we think we're all equal. But are we? So we have to ascertain our own reality. So we're using special ways to communicate, just like these radio waves. There's microwaves and other waves. But the fact is we're growing as an individual. And each individual, depending on what part of the universe they're in, and this is what we're discovering now, is people like us want to play the game of life, and we want to have a place of our own. So we evoke these physical realities, these bodies, these vehicles. So the Allied Command is going to be offering the various levels and dimensions and realities. And some of them right now in the Ascension Age, which I evoked because of my higher self and my higher guide and my higher extraterrestrial essence and the highest soul level, and everybody has a name for it. But we're all learning right now. And, being a coach, healer, metaphysician, avatar master, somebody that's died and came back and died and came back and died and came back, it gets old. Whether I'm an Egyptian, an Indian, or Tara running around in a spacecraft over China and Japan. I've got all these roles I've played. And
you're getting muffled a bit.
Okay. I wrote a song.
Thank you.
And put some of my past lives out. But, we're all trying to do what we can do as individuals. But everybody wakes up and has their own disclosure, depending on when they wake up and realize that there's more to life besides 7 levels of consciousness. And now we're saying 10. And some people say we have as many levels as 13, like Michio Kaku says there's at least 11 dimensions. So it depends on the individual as to how awake they are and how they ascribe their reality. Some only use math, some use religion, some use philosophy, some use husband and wife, some say they're both male and female. So it's all about what we're going to communicate in cyberspace, but allowing ourselves to be different. Right now, we all think we're one and the same. We're the all-encompassing force, meaning when we're together, when me and Ken and Janet come together right now, you can hear all 3 of us when we take turns. But if all 3 of us try to talk at the same time, we don't get anything accomplished because it comes across garbled. But if you have each person playing a separate instrument, like on stage, and you become proficient with competition and repetition over and over, like if Ken's playing the drums and Janet's playing the guitar and I'm playing a trumpet, but we've learned and we can all play them separately. You bring them together and form, something with the 4th person would have a quartet. So we're learning how to do the music as individuals. And I'm not sure about the whole entire universe, but the disclosure is strictly for oneself. And we talk about the overall, but we all know that we are everything, the particles and waves, it's the microcosm. But we're also the macrocosm, meaning all, God in all of us. That's why we say namaste, the God in me honors the God in you, or that which is holy and divine and infinite in you. I honor that, and hopefully you honor it in me. So we're just trying to define how to communicate globally. The Allied Command officers, which right now people may not like, but we're getting more yeses than we're getting no's, folks, is we're doing our best to market and promote that alien civilizations exist. And the Allied communication is like it's formed out of the source knowing itself, and we're duplicating our efforts by saying we're recognizing each of us and how we fold back with our own observation. We each have an observer. So it's like timelines. You can swap your timelines depending on where you're at in a perception and an observation, but you've still got to have a point of origin. And so I use it in universe. I'm outside M31 Andromeda Galaxy. And in this story that Janet, me, and Ken are creating, each person has to show up on this level in physical form on the planet. Otherwise, we'd just be out there floating around being part of the all I am, I guess.
So, TJ, you were going to share about the story about you were in the house at midnight. Just to remind you.
And that's in this reality.
Yeah, in this reality. So, but I wanted to just maybe clarify that. What I've encountered and discovered is that I'm a multidimensional being, simultaneously having existences on many levels and many vibratory frequencies, planets, and dimensions, as are we all. We're all doing this. And there's a certain point in our evolution that we wake up and become aware that, our dreams are just as real as our waking states. And our daydreams are sometimes even more powerful. So to invalidate those experiences is to invalidate a part of your life. When you go, it's just a dream, it's like, no, it's a dream. It's very important information. And where are you making it? I'm making it up. Where are you making it up from? Because everything exists. Nothing has been created or destroyed. It exists. So you're pulling it in. It's like the law of attraction action. You're pulling in information that's relevant to this here and now, to this current incarnation, and that's why it's bubbling to the top and you're aware of it. So you've had these experiences which there's a part of you that judges and says, oh my God, it's not part of this reality, but I think that's happening to more and more of us, and we're going, well, that's just as real as this 3D Earth level. It's just
exactly.
Real. Yes.
Well, some parts of the intelligence community know this. The people at Naval Air Station in Norfolk, they know exactly what we're talking about in the intelligence community because they have a group that works with, Captain McDaniel at Norfolk, Naval Air Station. Maybe they understand more because they're indoctrinated in a program. I was indoctrinated by dying and coming back and dying and coming back and then finding out I wanted to go visit people in White Sands, New Mexico, or uncles that worked at NASA. Or I was indoctrinated by what I learned in this reality. But I was also part of the Intergovernment Relations Advisory Board, but at a very early age. It was independent, bipartisan, and intergovernment agency at NASA in 1967. So it's since disbanded, but the President, Reagan, chose one person, and so did Bush. That's, I think, why I met them. And one person as an observer for all that we created with the federal government is like working with the State Department or the intelligence. I got to be that body, that human in this role. And I think that's why they trained me and put so much money into my training. I'm what's called cross-trained as a seer mariner, meaning by land, by sea, by air, and Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. And now we're going to have the Space Force working together. And it's our job to understand what that's going to mean in this reality because we're going to space, and we always have been. Just because people aren't aware of it, like the X-37B spacecraft, right, that was up there, was classified. Nobody knew it was out there flying till after it came down. And then they gave the Team Vandenberg, put it together and, gave it out to a few reporters. But nobody knew that was going on because it was classified. And usually the reason is because we're separated like we are as an individual-based humanoid sentient intelligent being. In our governments on the planet after World War II, especially, we decided to keep things a little secret because we didn't want any more Hitlers, basically. And we learned a good lesson, folks, and we're still learning. But what part do you want to know,
that would be an interesting thing if we did study, and I don't know that this group, but three of us can figure this out, but what causes a Hitler? It seems like periodically we get a Genghis Khan, we get a Hitler, we get a Napoleon, we get someone who thinks they're above the law and go outside of the matrix and conquer the world. And, if you think of Genghis Khan, he conquered the world. There's over 1 million people that are descended from him. He not only conquered the world, but he raped and produced children. So what makes somebody think that they're so important, so special, that they rise to the top and they